All of our texturizers where the tooth comes down to the fixed blade is rounded, not squared off. The problem with texturizers that are squared off is they catch on the hair. You guys don't know, and they pull. And so we kind of lose our love for our texturizer. The reason I choose to use a 14T, that's the one Topher's going to pass around to you first, is because the blades are bent. As to where a traditional 40T goes like this and it meets your fixed edge like this. How many of you sometimes have had issues creating a line when blending with your texturizing shear? You get like a horizontal, like a slight line, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right.
Okay. So the reason why a 14T doesn't create that line is because they're curved. The blades are all curved. And so instead of, like, if this is hair coming out of the head, a traditional 40T, which I like a 40T, don't get me wrong, it's just a commitment because it's going to take a lot of hair and a little bit of time, and you don't always want that. Somebody that has dark hair but thin hair, as soon as you hit them once with a 40T, you have committed to that blend because it looks a lot lighter just in one chomp of the blade, right? So this has a few less blades, but the curve allows you to, so here's the hair, it works around this way. It completely eliminates you ever creating a line while blending, whether you be perfectly horizontal or at an angle. And the other beautiful thing is I don't have to reopen this shear. I can start blending this haircut out and I can literally close and pull out, right? So it allows me to work outwards on the strand without pulling that client's hair, and it starts to blend beautifully right away. Can you see how that's blending that line out where I've hit that already? Mm-hmm. Somebody?
Yep.
Yeah. You guys need a pair of binoculars back there? And the other beautiful thing, and this is a time saver for me. So I see a piece that probably was once over here. I've changed it, okay? It's a lot easier for me to come in and bounce cut like that to get a little corner off than it is for me to then set this back down and pick up another shear, right? See how that's changed that little divot of weight that he had? So in the back, I'm going to work up. But the beautiful thing is like I said, I can go in a round motion, close that shear in the hair, and it slides right out like warm butter. I'm not pulling my client's hair that way. And those of you that have had your hair cut, especially with those shears that have the knob right here, and your stylist gets slick and says, I'm going to do some slide cutting. I call it yoga sliding. Ours has an tensioning system. You're never going to catch our shear in a hair, right? So again, I'm working in this direction, and you can see his hair is perfectly dry over here. Can you see how I'm pulling the shear out of the hair as I close it? It's a game changer when it comes to blending. You're like, oh, he does that, Gary? I kind of did a sports thing. We are a sports thing. Exactly. I figure I better say the part because I don't was the part. And we have a beautiful 40T. I just feel like this is the most efficient blender that we have, personally speaking. And I'm sure if you talk to other artists, they would say differently. For me and what I do, I want to be able to move through a lot and not have the commitment of the 40T. This will give me everything a 40T will give me. It just doesn't force me to take that, if that makes sense. What do you guys think so far?
Woo!
here.
We're not in camp.
Oh, okay. Minus a few guys, a whole bunch of women. How many of you have this issue?
Yeah.
Right? Especially when you're trying to cause that or give that traditional parting. Doesn't that look better? Doesn't that look cleaner? Doesn't it divide one side to the other? Yeah, most certainly. See how I just went in and followed that hairline with my texturizing shears and took that off? See how it'll fall right back into place if he needs it to now? There's no guesswork for Gary today. Gary gets to just do his hair, and I'm going to explain that to him as he does it. Comb it back. Let the part find itself. Comb it over and be done, right? Okay. I'm just going to kind of cross-check this, and I know for a fact that the girls that cut Gary's hair normally, there's 3 of them. I've been informed and are in the room. The top looks great, girls. Give the girls a hand.
Woo! Anything left for clip.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. On to the clipper portion. I was talking to you guys about how we sell ourselves with confidence, right? Gary, do you normally have your neckline cut in the back? Meaning, do you have a hairline cut in even at the bottom? Right, perfect. So I want you to try something a little different for me, at least this one time, if you would. And the reason is this: I would like to taper it off at the bottom and the back. And this is why. I feel like a lot of times hairlines look great for 4 days. You have a hairline that looks beautiful. 4 days later, neck hair is coming back. So now you have hair, old hairline, neck hair until you go get your hair cut again. If I take it off at the very bottom, you're going to have 3 weeks of natural growing that's going to look beautiful, and it's going to actually make your haircut look better longer. Right?
I concur.
See, the beautiful thing about this business, guys, is we get to sell the truth as long as we can produce what we're selling verbally, right? Okay, so. I'm going to just come down and just knock this off a little bit at the bottom. Notice how I left that there? I did it on purpose. Like, why spend the time cutting it down and cutting it down again if I'm not going to finish there with shears, right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to comb opposite up and just take that and get it workable. Now, here's the next trick. So I'm going to explain something to you really, really quick. You all know how clippers work. There's a blade that stays still and a blade that is mobile, just like we were talking about earlier, right? So when you run, so if this is Gary's head and I run the clippers this way, it's creating a little bit of distance where the metal is here to where the 2 blades rub together. Does this make sense? So if I stand the clipper up, I'm actually creating more distance between my steel and where the blade rubs together. Very seldom do I ever clip a guard onto my clippers because I don't need to. If I push the bar out and I stand the clipper up and work and then lay it down, is that not giving me variation in length?
Yes.
Right. So if I start with the bar pushed down, meaning the clipper up, and I just allow the head to kick me off because of natural head shape, right? See how it's disappearing right away? And all I've done is stood it up and rubbed it that way. The occipital and the neck have a natural curve. I just need to follow it but keep my clipper stood up. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go halfway down, right? So bar's in mid position. I'm going to stand it up again. And I'm going to work. I'm just not going to take it as far. Right? Disappearing right away. Not one guard used yet. Now I'm going to take it all the way down, and I'm going to come at the very bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing, just on a smaller scale. The thing is, most guys won't even look at the back of their head unless you show them the mirror. Show them the difference. Tell them to look at it a week down the road. I'll tell you guys really quick a little dirty joke. I've been cutting my father's hair for a long time, and he never looked at the back of his hair. Even when I'd say, here, check this out, he'd be like, oh, no, I trust you. So I gave him a reason not to trust me. I gave him an off-center tail. And he didn't look at it. And so 4 days later, he's walking into this joint, and this girl that he was kind of into is behind him walking in. She goes, aren't you a little old for that? Right? My dad used my favorite cuss word that day on the phone. Now, same thing here. A lot of times I like to taper it down to almost nothing on the sides. This is my theory behind it. The hairline sets it's lower here than it is here. So naturally, I feel like it should come off down there and be retained here, but just a little bit. And what I do is I visualize a pencil resting in the ear. That kind of creates my line for me. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. So if I raise that up and I do this again, and I come at an angle, here's the other thing I don't think a lot of people take into account. A lot of gentlemen's beard hair goes up into the hair, right? And so sometimes it's harder for us, like it's like nice and light and then it gets darker at the bottom and we don't take the time to take that a little bit shorter. The hair is thicker, it's more porous, it's more visual. So it does get darker. Take it a little lower in those areas. So it has that nice finish to it. It only takes a couple more seconds. Now, same thing about halfway up, standing it up, but I'm only going a little bit of the way. I'm going to lay it all the way down. And see, Gary's a prime example. His beard hair is coarse enough that even after I cut a hairline in, you're still going to see hair here. But his haircut's going to look great for 2 to 3 weeks until he comes back to see me again. Okay? You are coming back to see me, right, Gary? Sorry, Brandon. I feel like you really made it. So same thing, standing it up, and just kind of coming up there, laying it down and finishing, right? And you can kind of see that angle I've created. Yes? No? Mm-hmm. Perfect. You guys feel like you're learning a little bit today?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Learning a lot there, Gary. Yes, it's all sinking right in.
Can you guys see as I spin Gary, can you see the profile difference that I was talking about? Mm-hmm. Where it's really, really clean as opposed to like tons of, like he might have 1 or 2, but those tons of little hair sticking out everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yep. Even if the guy can't automatically figure out what you've done differently, you'll get compliments. He'll say things. Man, I don't know what, but I love my hair this time. How many guys do you think talk at night, sitting and having a beer, going, man, this girl used 2 combs on my hair and she overcombed it today. I've never had that happen. Do you think maybe some of his friends might at least come give you a visit at one time to see what's going on? Mm-hmm. They're always looking for something different. They're always looking to look better than the people around them, right? So I'm going to use my T-finisher, and I'm going to just quickly carve this in. The beautiful thing about tapering the back off and the ear off is how much quicker is it for me to carve in the little bit I need to carve into, because it's going to cancel out into nothing on both sides, right? From, you guys all know who Ivan Zoot is?
You get lunch, Hannah? You get lunch?
Was it good, Hannah?
I'm sorry?
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, and then I can even go in the back if I want and take this and do the exact same thing that I talked to you about earlier, just to kind of finish it off. It's the same theory, and if I've taken it down already, you can see how beautifully that cancels out, right?
You did tell us what you learned from last year.
Oh, Ivan Zoot. See, I told you I had ADD. So, how many of you guys kind of feel awkward sometimes when you're asking a guy if he wants his ears or brows or anything trimmed?
I don't know.
How many times do you think he feels awkward when you ask him this, especially with a room of women? So, Ivan made a statement one time in a class that made total sense to me. One word and lift it. Ears?
Wait, say that. What did you say? Say again?
Brows? You see how it's like it's everything you need to say in one word, and he isn't looking in the mirror to see how many girls are turning back thinking, damn, he's got some hairy ears. But we do, we think about this stuff, you know? Brows, yeah, perfect.
Yours?
Now,
I want to see what you do.
Mary came out of the gym and didn't even have that part in. How's it look? Right? Now, if I want to create a little bit of added texture to this, which I do want to, so I had Topher pass around the 13 T's as well. And some of you probably look at those and go, really, I have no use for those. Guys that are looking for texture, you can pretty much do a few ways. Here's the most common way. We take a shear, we take a vertical parting. Oh, there it is. We take a vertical parting, right? Oops, sorry, Gary. And we start to do this. Right? Okay, so after today, I hope none of you take the time to do this 14 times to your one. I just did 14 point cuts in one motion, didn't I? My one cut to your 14. Who's getting done faster?
Yeah.
Right? And then if I want to come across and create a little bit more of that texture for Gary, I can come in. Right? And notice how effortlessly these slide right through the hair. And I'm literally closing them and sliding them out. See, that's the beautiful thing about our texturizers. Because everything's all rounded, not only are you getting texture, but especially on a shear like this, every time you keep the shear closed and pull it out of the hair, you're creating 14 slide cuts. So you're getting that short to long distance that quick. So you're pointing, am I doing that minus talking? And how much more texture does he have on the top now? And it's a nice uniform texture, correct? So, any of you that are interested in either one of our texturizers in a shear, any second shear you purchase from us today, we give you $125 off the second shear. Okay? This is how Hanzo works. You put some money down. Some stuff today. Yeah. I feel like this is stuff that might actually help you to help your stores make more money.
Yeah.
Alan, you have a question over here?
I do. Please.
Hi.
Hi.
Would you, when you're using like the big, whatever, texturizing shears, would you use those to ever remove length and texture, or would you just use them to?
I do it for both. Yeah, if you noticed, I found a little spot that was a little longer, and I just bounced a couple of times. That's a beautiful thing. Our texturizers can be as aggressive as you want them to be, but they can be as gentle as you want them to be too. Being able to slide cut through that hair makes it really, really easy to just go a couple times or move back and forth a few times and take that hair off. You know, that's why I said I don't want to take the time when I'm cross-checking a haircut to put a shear down and pick another one up if I don't have to. If that means I just go a couple times real quick, then I'm good, right?
Yeah.
Right. So guys, take the opportunity to come talk to Topher and I. See what we can do for you. We are aware that sometimes you're not aware I'm coming, right? And so we can find ways to help you out, to work with you. If 20% isn't something that is feasible today, let me find a number that is feasible for you today, okay? Let's get all of you shears that want shears. And like I said, you guys are either, you'll have your choice today of 2 of our carbon combs and a mister, which is a $54 value,